Sakina said the sustenance, which is absolutely correct. Whatever is for you in this world, however Allah is planning on allowing you to maintain yourself, that is told to you in the womb. The second one is your lifespan, how long you will live. Okay, the third one is your deeds. When I said you was close, when Samia said your character, it will depend upon whether you're going to be a happy person or an unhappy person.
Your deeds
is going to determine if you're happy or unhappy.
Well, that's sort of kind of like your character.
I thought somebody said deeds.
Yeah, I said, but that goes into whether or not you're gonna be. So you have your lifespan, your deeds, whether you will be happy or unhappy. So and then the four is actually four, and then that will determine whether you will be a companion of the hellfire or you will be a companion of the Jannah.
Yes, that's the third one. Whether or not
So I said both of them. I said the deeds, and then I kind of worded it different, but I said whether or not you'd be blessed or not blessed.
That's why I said you was close. That's why I said you was close. I didn't say you was wrong.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. So you're saying that it's actually four things.
Yes.
Your risk, whether your sustenance, how you're going to maintain yourself, your lifespan, your deeds, whether or you'll be happy or unhappy, and whether you'll be in Jannah or hellfire.
Correct.
So my question to that is, people who are innately unhappy, I see this a lot where people are just miserable, and I never understand it. You know, people on my job, even people in my life, I look at them and they find misery in every circumstance. And I'm like, you can't be happy. You can't, it's like their soul is dark or something. There's no smiling, there's no laughter, there's just finding fault. These people, this was determined in the womb of their mother.
Yep.
So can this process be
reversed,
determined by the actions of the mother? Because our personalities and things like that are started in the womb from what we hear and what our mothers partake in, what they intake, what their output is, as far as spiritually and physically. Can this personality disorder be a product of that? Or this is just determined by Allah and there's really not much you could do about it? So when people are miserable, even though they try to change, they have difficulty in changing because this was already predetermined.
Now, okay, excellent question, but we're going to take that personality disorder out of there because a lot of us be looking for some type of mental excuse to say we crazy any damn way. But
that is because you can't function. Your personality
I
pushes people away.
I understand what you're saying.
All right.
So check this out. During the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? There was a lady that always used to throw trash, right, in the Prophet's walkway, right, in his path, right? Or she used to, curse at him and this, that, and the other, right? And one day he came out and he asked what happened to her, right? You know the story, Sakina. And she died, right? One of the companions told the Prophet ﷺ that she died. And one of them said that, for surely, Ya Rasulullah, for the way she treated you, she will be in the hellfire, right? And another companion said, but I don't understand, because she always used to feed the homeless cats. And the Prophet ﷺ said, for that, she will enter Jannah. For those people that have been predetermined to be, just as Sakina said, mentally disturbed, in that way that they're just miserable, there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says that some of you that's giving the other way, that you are told that you will be a companion of the paradise, that you will do deeds to maintain that status or to get you to paradise until you become a handspan from your wrist to your tallest finger, from Jannah, and you will do a bad deed that will take you straight to the hellfire. And the opposite, for those who all of their life was just miserable, always finding fault. Every time you walk by and they throwing olives and tomatoes at you, right? Until they get a handspan from their wrist to their fingertips, from the gates of hell, they will do a good deed and Allah will give them Jannah. So even though these things are given to us in the womb of our mothers, there are but our deeds that transforms any one of those particular things that we are given, determined by our iman and our tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So
because a miserable person can still have reliance on Allah, even though they are miserable.
So we're just a deed away, one way or the other. Wow. Alhamdulillah.
Now, how merciful is your Lord?
Wow.
And why would you want to depend on the most merciful of the merciful? Now think about it. One deed away. What was your last deed last night? Was it remembering Allah? Was it cussing somebody out? Was you had some Hennessy in the cabinet?
You so wrong.
You know, some of us, you know, the old folks used to say, you know, take a little sip in the nighttime, keep your blood flowing. But what was your last deed? What was your first deed this morning? Was it thanking Allah? Or you was upset because you had to get up from under them covers? Because you know, if I don't make it to class, yeah, because if I don't make it to class, you know the man will bust me out and talk about me next week. So let me just get in there. I'll fall asleep in the class. I'll just keep my vision. That's why, you know, sometimes I might flip y'all out one day. I'm like, y'all need to turn your cameras on. Put your hijabs on, turn your cameras on. See what's up. Coming to the front of got the computer lying on the side of you in the bed while you sleep. Okay. Sister Naira, you go ahead.
You got jokes, Eva.
Yeah, Donna, he doing way too much.
I ain't talking about nobody here, is I? Shafia?
I threw them covers back and said shukra Allah. and then I went back to sleep after a couple of hours talking to Zaki. Then I went back to sleep one day, took a nap.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sister Naira, you had your hands up.
Yeah. So question. So the four things that were given in our womb by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at birth, right?
Yeah.
Our taqwa and our iman is the two things that can make changes to those?
Yes.
Okay.
Lack of or increasing of.
Right. Alhamdulillah.
Who else had their hand up? Who else had a question?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So you can have a Gollum way of thinking. That's only somebody I think we're doomed, you know, kind of attitude, but that does not mean that you are doomed to the hellfire.
Unless you are deprived of hope. Because even a person in despair has hope. But the person in despair that has no hope is the one that's lost. Because they have given more power to the disparity than the creator of everything.
So so a person could have not as much tawakkul as the next person, because that sounds like a person that doesn't have a lot of
Tawakkul cannot be
tawakkul.
measured.
It can't be measured.
Tawakkul cannot be measured.
Okay.
That's an individual journey based on your understanding on how you should rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My reliance on Allah is not going, we can explain it the same, but it's not going to come out the same.
So none of the 4 T's can be measured then, sounds to me.
Good question. Maybe a topic for another class.
All right. All right, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sister Taliba, you threw your hand up there?
Yeah, she threw it up.
No, I took it down. I'll tell you what I'm trying to figure out is how to change the color of my hand. So I'll practice.
Oh. You don't want to throw the white hand up, sis?
Yes.
Shoot, man, that's an excellent. Yeah, they only have the white hand option.
like
that brown hand up. He threw the black brown
it's
hand
automatic up. Brown though. I don't know why it didn't ask me. You know, it didn't give a choice of a light skinned hand or a lighter hand. You know, I had the chocolate hand. I'm doing a lot.
Oh, you got the iPhone?
Nah, I'm
Android.
I'm
man.
on the computer.
Yeah, I'm on the computer too. And like on my phone, I can change it. And even if I'm, what is it? Like if I'm doing a Facebook response, then I can change the color. But I don't know what's up with this. Imam, you need to invest.
Oh, if you hit on those 3 dots and go down, you'll see the chocolate hand.
Yeah, I did hit the 3 dots. Okay, I'll practice with that some other time.
Okay.
Listen, I want to read this last paragraph and I want to conclude from this hadith, like the birds. According to the renowned author of Riyadh al-Salihin, this hadith has been interpreted to mean that it is those people who put their trust in Allah who will be in Jannah. Under this interpretation, there seems to be a direct correlation between the way of the people of Tawakkul live their lives in this world and their reward. It is the people of Tawakkul who would never have worried about their provisions, food, and means of sustenance, and are like the birds who do not collect any food to keep in reserve, but go out every morning in search of food, hoping for and believing in Allah's provision, and then returning home to their nests fully satisfied. So that goes back to Shafia's question. So how you interpret this, or how you give credence to the subject matter of your provisions, whatever they may be, your food, and your means of sustenance. However you interpret what that is, will raise or decrease your reliance on Allah.
You know, that reminds me, just what just came into my head was when the pandemic shutdown first got started and people were running to the grocery store and buying up everything. And there were commentators were saying, talking to other shoppers, and shoppers were saying, I don't understand why people are hoarding like this. So then you get everything and nobody else has anything. So people were in a panic, as opposed to other people who, well, I went and got my usual stuff, even though I did get an extra pack of toilet paper. I have to admit that. But, because I'm thinking, well, Allah knows best. And I can't believe that there's not going to be enough food. And plus I had stuff in the house, dried beans, stuff like that. Like you said, some common sense kind of stuff. So that sounds sort of like what this intention might be, even though it said, everybody's going to think about it in a different way. But that's what I thought of, that I wasn't worried about starving. And there seemed to be people who really were worried. And my thing is, well, I fast during the month of Ramadan. So push come to shove, then I just eat one meal a day. I mean, I just figured, it was gonna work out because Allah had prepared me by, Ramadan and Mondays and Thursdays. So, like I said, the only thing was the toilet paper, but but when it came to food, I had water, I had a pitcher with a filter. So, I just said, yeah, okay, y'all keep on running around and acting crazy, because some of those people may not have made it through the pandemic, and they had a closet full of toilet paper and Frosted Flakes.
Yep. Yeah, sure did.
Family size.
Yeah, family size.
When I think about all of these reliance on Allah, the story that stands out to me the most is the story of Hajar in the desert. People can use the reliance of Allah. We have to be very careful, because other people try to determine what is supposed to be each other's reliance on Allah.
Mm-hmm.
The most profound statement said here today is that each individual will determine what that is. Mm-hmm. You cannot tell me what that is. I cannot tell you what that is. Mm-hmm. And we seem to fall into that. Well, you need to rely on Allah. And there's where this, the Riyadh al-Salihin, the book, gives a good understanding, but in the more commentary, needs to be explained, because this is something that I have seen throughout my life as a Muslim. The manipulation of words to manipulate what you want, and how you try to control how others think and believe. We watched the documentary, Controversial, and it could be either way. That they talked about Christianity, but Islam can do the same things. And so when we're talking about the reliance of Allah, I think about Hajar, and I think about her in the desert with her baby, and she relied on Allah. She did, and got moving. So when we talk about, should I take a class, or should I, to increase my risk, or should I go shopping? Yeah, you should. Hajar sat there with a crying baby, and she got up and she went shopping. She went looking for sustenance for her child, with the reliance that Allah was going to either give it or not give it. They were either going to survive this or not survive it, and that was still Allah's choice. But she got up and she ran, and that water is still running to this day because she got up, providing sustenance for all of us. For every Muslim that goes over there, takes a sip of that Zamzam water, it is still there for us. And it replenishes itself. So when I think about the reliance of Allah, I think about Hajjah and her reliance on Allah to complete an action that we still have to complete to this day, to complete our own spiritual awareness or our own ibadah, proclaiming to be Muslim. So yes, reliance on Allah doesn't mean sitting around. And that's where that needs to be made clear, that the reliance of Allah in no way means to sit around. If you want to do something and Allah has given you the risk or the way with all to do something extra so that you can achieve something more, then yes, that is the reliance of Allah as well. So I think that the story of Hajjah explains all about the reliance of Allah. Her whole story is about the reliance of Allah from the day he came into Ibrahim's life to the day he left her in that desert with her baby.
You know, you said something that is deep, because you said whether he was going to give it to her or not, that Allah was going to replenish. Isn't that his attribute? El Halim?
Yes.
The replenisher.
Yes.
So it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
You either gonna have, because Tawakkul comes from the root wakil. Allah Ta'ala is El Wakil. So you either going to believe in El Wakil or El Halim.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's serious. That's a class, right? That's serious right there, man. That goes back to our going through the 99 names. And
Mm-hmm.
you see, you know, what just came to my mind was that was the movie Karate Kid. And when Miyagi had Daniel painting the wood, painting the fence, washing the car, he didn't even know he was being trained. You said something, Taliba, that goes into that, where you said, okay, everybody was panicking, and it's like if it became necessary, I just eat one meal a day. Most of us do not take our Islamic lessons as training. We just take it nonchalantly. And it goes up on the shelf. We don't know when what we have learned is going to come to the forefront and take place. This is why Sakina's statement is so true to Zaki's question, and I hope I answered it the same way in a different way, that you can't measure someone else's tawakkul. You can't measure nobody else's tawbah or their tawheed. The only thing that you can do when you are trying to remind somebody of that is to say Allah is sufficient. But it's on you to determine that. Because you don't know how you're going to react. We all think, we all talk about, yeah, shoot, if I was back in slavery time, master came with me with a whip, I would beat the hell out of you. We all talk that gangster talk until pressure is put up on us. And nobody truly knows where their faith is going to be until you suffer loss or depravity of your own self. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all. May Allah ta'ala accept our humble sessions, may it be pleasing to him. May Allah Ta'ala allow it to be a benefit to all of us. Any mistakes that we have made is truly from ourselves. We ask you to forgive me and ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to forgive us. Anything that you have gained of benefit is truly for the sake of Allah and for the benefit of your own soul. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala save us from the torment of the grave and the punishment of the fire. Ameen. Is there any other questions? Other than that, I'll let y'all go.
One last thing,
Yes.
about what Sister Taliba was saying about the pandemic and people running into the markets and stuff. Muslims should be self-sufficient. We shouldn't have to run into the market. This is the importance of land and animals and getting our own. Allah, when Cain killed Abel, he didn't know what to do with the body. And Allah sent a bird to show him how to dig. We are always supposed to be self-sufficient and relying on the things that Allah has placed. That's the reliance of Allah, not Walmart or run into the Walmart to get the toilet tissue. He already told us how to make a stinger. So everything that we need to know is here for us. Allah has placed it here for us. This is how Adam lived. This is how Hawa lived. This is how our Nabis lived. This is how Hajjah lived. Off the earth, off the place in which Allah has had us dwelling. So the most important thing to me from learning from the pandemic was we need to come together and be self-sufficient. People need to be relying on us because we're relying on Allah, not the other way around.
Oh,
so that's just a little statement.
Yeah, all right. Sister Soldier OG. All right, y'all. Y'all done heard it. I ain't saying nothing up. Assalamu alaikum.